Hi guys, it's Belle here and I'm coming on with my 2025 December reading wrap up. It's cold here. I am in this big fleecy thing that my daughter brought me a couple of years ago because I absolutely refuse to put the heating on this early in the morning. But it is freezing here in the UK. Now, there's not many books to talk with you about for December, but I'm also going to take this opportunity to talk a bit about some bookish things over Christmas, as well as a more general kind of wrap up of my 2025 reading. And just to let you know, I will be continuing to do these wrap ups in 2026, and I'm hoping you guys might join me. I'm going to tell you some of my reading plans for 2026, so maybe some of you might like to join in with things like that as well. Let's get started. I am going to do it in order of how I read the books. Now guys, I only read 6 books this month. Between a flare up of some of my health symptoms, sadly, even though I actually got a fresh lot of treatment at the start of the month, it sadly is not doing what I had hoped it would do. So that will be a plan for 2026, that I'm going to be dealing with that. However, between that and the fact that it was festive time, we were super busy doing family stuff, rushing backwards and forwards. There's a lot more on the TV in the evenings, and also I was doing Defember and a lot of other kind of craft things. And on top of that, so I was doing a lot of filming, so I didn't have as much time to listen to audiobooks. And with everyone home, I was obviously spending time with those when I wasn't filming and stuff. And then I fell ill with a winter cold. So 6 books. I think it's my worst month of the year, but I haven't double checked, but I think it's my worst month of the year. We're just going to get straight into it. So I brought myself a bookish advent calendar from Etsy. I had posted on my Instagram, I have both a bookish one where I rarely post. I'm going to be changing that this year. And a craft one where I also rarely post. I'm going to be changing that this year. I'm going to be posting more, I'd posted about this bookish advent calendar. It's from a lovely lady on Etsy who I've ordered from a few times before, but I've never brought an advent calendar from her. But I have brought a few I think a few years ago she did a stocking one with bits in it, and she's super sweet, and I'm going to talk a lot more about that advent calendar later on in the video. So in that advent calendar, I felt like the first few days were just for me. Again, I'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the early gifts in that advent calendar was this little Poirot clue. I think it's got 4. Yeah, it's got 4 mysteries in it. Now, the quick reads are usually come out around book day here in the UK. I don't know if they do it in other countries. You'll have to let me know. And they're basically little tiny books that usually do cost just £1, and they introduced often children, but you know, depending if you're someone who doesn't read a lot, they're a great way to introduce you to new authors and to lovely little quick reads, hence the name, quick read. And the day I opened this, I then read it. I ended up giving it 3.5 stars. It is 4 stories that involve Hercule Poirot. We have it introduced by Sophie Hannon, who has been given the rights to write more Hercule Poirot stories by the Agatha Christie Foundation. I haven't read any of hers. I don't know how I feel about it. I don't mind that she writes it. She must do a good job to get to be allowed to do it, because they're very strict on who they allow to kind of do anything with the Agatha Christie name and characters. However, I just don't know how I feel about it. And John Curran. And so they do little introductions. This is definitely for people who haven't really read Agatha Christie before, because it does a little bit of introduction for each of the stories. So we have the market basing mystery, The Disappearance of Mr. Davenheim, The Double Clue, and The Adventure of the Egyptian Tomb. Now, I have obviously read all of these before in different guises, but The Disappearance of Mr. Davenheim is not a favourite of mine. It's clever, obviously, but it's not a favourite of mine. But I do really like The Adventure of the Egyptian Tomb, and I like The Double Clue, although right now it is escaping me what The Double Clue is about. I don't want to give any spoilers to anything. Where is it? Shortest story, also its cleverest. Of course, we meet the Countess Vera Rosnikoff. She's quite a big character. I often think of her in terms of the female character that Sherlock kind of has a thing for, and I can't remember her name right now in his books, but we see her a couple of times, and she's kind of this clever, almost nemesis to Poirot, and yet they have this very interesting relationship. So yeah, The Double Clue and The Egyptian Tomb were good. I don't really like The Disappearance of Mr. Davenheim and Mark of Hastings. Okay, so I gave it 3.5. Cute little book. And yeah, if you haven't read Agatha or Poirot, this is a good way to start. Then I read The Christmas Cracker Killer. This came out this year. It's by Alexandra Benedict. You would have seen, I think, last month. So my November reading wrap up, I read Murder on the Christmas Express, I believe, by them. And I've also read, there was one that came out before this, the Jigsaw Murders. Got this beautiful hardback that I actually picked up in the sale because I read it on audio, and I gave this 4 stars. And I won't be keeping the Christmas Murder on the Christmas Express, but I do like the main character in this one. So this is actually a follow-up, so I have to be careful what I say. I'm trying to find a bit. So we have... I don't want to give too much away. Does it say anything? Okay, I don't think it does. So we have Eddie O'Sullivan. She's a lady in her 80s, I believe. Love me an older character. We need more of those in books. She is a very prickly character. We meet her in the first book, The Jigsaw Murders. Yeah, The Jigsaw Murders? Anyway, or The Jigsaw Killer. And she compiles crosswords. She's highly intelligent, but very, very prickly. She has a complicated relationship with her son in the first book and stuff. And there's a lot she has to go through. I really liked that because what I like about these books, it's the same in the Murder on the Christmas Express. Alexandra does games in the book. So we have 5 different puzzles in this book that don't necessarily help you solve the murder, but they're just fun puzzles. So like at the top of each chapter, there's a letter from the title of a festive film, rearrange them, and then you can tag them. There are 10 of her favourite punk songs hidden in the text of the prologue. She tells you the chapters and also gives you a hint to who the singers are. She always does that. There's anagrams through the book of Christmas movies. 10 of her favourite books and films set in hotels. So there's all these different clues. So I love that about Alexandra's books. It's why they're best to get physically if you can, because obviously you can't see the clues properly if there's stuff written down on an audiobook, and also it doesn't tell you about the games at the start of an audiobook. Anyway, in this one we have Eddie. Eddie is going for a festive break on a remote Scottish island to this hotel that's just opening. They haven't opened yet, they're about to open. She's going there with a few other people, and they get there, it looks lovely, and it's, you know, she's expecting fires and coziness and all this kind of thing. And on the first night they get there, they get crackers. There's a whole range of different people there that are there for different people's different reasons. Some have been invited, and some of them open the crackers at the table for dinner on the first night, and some of them get very interesting things and riddles in their crackers. Now, I love the riddles because I have read a lot about the history of Christmas and Yule and all around the world, the different traditions and things like that. And so a lot of the riddles were about that. And I was super excited when I was like, oh, I know who that is and I know what they're talking about and da-da-da-da. And so slowly, after opening these crackers that were a bit strange, and one of the crackers is actually aimed at someone Eddie has gone there with in her little group, people start to die. Now, this was definitely inspired by a very well-known murder mystery. And I'm not going to tell you which one it is because that would give spoilers, guys. But this is quite a small book, and it's really, I'm not going to show you anything. It's got like the list of characters as well. I really love that. It's quite a short book. How many pages? 282 pages. So quite short, easy to listen to on audio, but obviously get it in physical or e-form if you want to do the games. And I really like this one. Eddie was joining up to try and work out what was going on. People are dying. People are trying to solve the riddles. What I will tell you is please look up trigger warnings if those are things you need, because this goes dark. This deals with a theme for each person that is being targeted. There is a theme in their background. That is something that I normally don't like to read about, but saying all that, I really enjoyed this, and when I saw it was half price on the Waterstones Boxing Day sale, I went and picked it up. So I hope that gives you some sort of idea or anything. If you like puzzles, if you like Christmas murder mysteries, you will enjoy that. And then I picked up my Agatha Christie, my Poirot novel for the month, and this is the ABC Murders. And so this is actually one of my least favorite televised pieces to watch, so I don't tend to rewatch this one that often. I don't know why. The book I gave a 3.75, which is actually not too bad. Is it brilliant? No, but I rarely give any Agatha Christie too low. But it's a 3.75, but I just don't like watching the remakes of it, and I don't know why. So, the ABC guide is a railway guide in this era. And a murder happens where a Mrs. Asher in Andover is murdered, and beside her is lying an ABC. And a letter gets sent to Poirot. And I don't think he's got Hastings with him in this one. I don't think he has. Maybe he has. A letter. You'll have to excuse me. It's not because the book's not good. It's because my brain fog is a fogging at the moment. It's really challenging me. I think that's another reason I didn't read as much, actually. So they get sent a letter. Poirot gets sent a letter saying, beware, I'm going to murder again, because everyone just thinks this is a normal, she runs like a little shop. Everyone just thinks, oh, this is a normal robbery gone bad or something like that, or a break-in. And then a few months later, another murder happens, and this one is a B in a place beginning with B with the ABC guide again. And Poirot gets these letters saying, well, I'm going to murder in this town on this date. Can you catch me? And we go from there. We watch Poirot try and work out the clues. The police start to take this case seriously. The whole country starts to get worried because it looks like if the murderer's not caught, they're going to go all the way through the ABC. And there's all these little things that Poirot, all the way through the book, he keeps saying there was something about that conversation that I that stuck out to me, and but I can't remember. And obviously, as someone who's reread this several times, I know what that is. But it's good, and it's a good murder mystery. We've watched Poirot, and in this one, it does deal with the idea of someone struggling with what we would now call PTSD and stuff. And there's a whole kind of twist because we think we know who the murderer is. And then, we go from there. Again, I can't give too much away, but it's fun in one way. I mean, Poirot is kind of racing around the areas and he's asking questions that people are like, why are you asking these questions? And they're trying to stop the murderer before they continue murdering, because obviously there's a lot of letters in the alphabet. And it's just, I kind of like that play on the, brain fog, on the fact that the letters, you know what I mean? So it's an A and a B and everything kind of goes together. And it goes to a lot of places that I have either visited or lived, and that's quite fun too. So 3.75 on that one. Then I picked this up just randomly. This is by Eilish Fisher. And this is Fear and the Last Snow Deer. Now, this is middle grade, but can we just take a moment to look at that? And this was my only 5-star of the month. And I fell in love with this. So this is written like as almost like poetry. So it is the Senior Children's Book of the Year in Irish Book Awards 2024, Book of the Year in Ireland Awards 2025. So let me kind of read the back to you. Fear and her snow deer Solus have always had a powerful connection, but facing an endless winter, Fear's village turns their sights to Solus and a prophecy that promises the return of spring if the ultimate sacrifice is made. So Fear and Solus run from the village seeking out the deer mother, a mythical being with the power to wake the sun and who might be their only hope. But the wilderness is harsh and shadows lurk at every turn. Can they reach the deer mother? And if they do, what choices will Fear face to save her village? Now, this is set in ancient Ireland, and I just love the way this is written, and I just love the art style in here. Let me try and get something. I want to show you like this. Look, is Fear with her great-grandmother. And the way this is written, I'm going to see if I can find a piece that I'll read the first little bit to you. Long, long ago, before nations and invasions, the land was tied together by ice. No one knew they were here, two-legged and four, scraping survival from the bones of a land that would become known as Ireland. Families and villages carved their place into the earth. Birth, death, life, hope. Those people may be gone, but the caves and the stones have kept their secrets for thousands upon thousands of years, while I, the deer mother, have survived in the cuts and scrapes of bones hidden deep. That's as much as I'm going to read you, but that gives you a feel for this. It's so beautifully written. We are in ancient Ireland. We are at a time where we are just before the winter solstice. And if you know anything about the winter solstice is the longest night of the year. And from that time onwards, days get longer, nights get shorter. But we are at a time where, for some reason, the magic in the world seems to have disappeared. And there hasn't been a summer or a spring or an autumn for many years. It has been winter for year on year on year. And Fear is very young. I would say 8, 9, maybe that kind of age. And she only dreams. She can only remember in her dreams what it was like to see the sun, feel the grass beneath her feet, feel the heat on her skin, see the leaves changing colours. They are on this little village, isolated. The herds of snow deer have also gone, and there is only one. There was a snow deer born on the same day as Fear was born, on the solstice many years ago, and they have become like a bonded pair. That is Solus and that is the only deer they've protected her. But the whole village is literally starving. Imagine there's never any summer, spring or autumn. The ground is frozen solid and there's constant snow and ice. And so you can't plant anything. The hunters of the tribe are going further and further away each time to try and bring back something. And each time they can be gone for weeks on end and come back with less and less. And the villagers are literally starving. There's quite beautiful description, even though it's sad, of the thinness of them. And Fia has a little brother as well, who I think has never seen the sun. And even the sky, there's no sun, there's no stars, it's just this over grey. And there is a prophecy that involves the snow deer and Fia. And she doesn't know the whole thing. Her mother, her great grandmother, is the shaman, the wise woman of the village, and she hasn't told Fia the whole thing. And then the hunters return. It's a few days before solstice, like 4 or 5 days. They haven't really got anything, and they then say, well, we're all starving. We're not going to last more than a few weeks if we don't do something. And they turn to Fia's snow deer, Solus. And her grandmother has already warned her about this. This all happens literally in the first few pages. And so Fia and Solus go on a journey. They go on a quest. These things are very common in Irish literature and mythology, these quests that our heroes go on. And a bit different to the Greek ones in some way, but, you know, similar idea. Someone goes on a thing because of a prophecy to fulfill something. And so Fia travels, and she has never been far from her village, and it is freezing. And even though her grandmother has prepared her a little bit, because, you know, she can see the future in a sense, she doesn't know what she's doing. And we follow Fia and Solus as they travel to try and find the dear mother and to try and bring back the sun. It deals with all sorts of things in here. This moved me. I actually teared up at this book, which is why it got a 5. In some ways, it's quite simplistic, and in some ways, you can get really annoyed at Fia. But it really talks about family and love and nature and trust and finding yourself in difficult times. I'm welling up a little bit thinking about it. It's not that deep. Like, it is deep, but I'm not saying, like, I just think the messages in here are beautiful. I liked it because it's set in ancient Ireland and it deals with the solstice. Now, Eilish Fisher has another book out, The Waters and the Wild, I think it's called. I'm going to be reading that next year because I think her writing is my kind of thing. There's her grandmother again. I think the art style in here is beautiful. It is illustrated by Dermot Flynn. I just look at Solus there and Fia. I just think it's beautiful. Yeah, they are again. So if this sounds like something a little one in your life would like, or you guys, I definitely think pick this up, especially, I mean, you could still read it now. It's still winter in the Northern Hemisphere. So, you know, I highly recommend it. You can tell I keep talking about it. Then I read an audiobook. Now, I haven't got anything to show you, and I'm only going to talk really, really quickly about this audiobook. I'll put the picture as always up here. This is number 3 in the Christmas Tree Farm Mysteries. I read the first book, reread the first book, I think in November. I didn't read the second book, but I went, because I've already read that, and I decided to just go on to a new one. And this is Slashing Through the Snow by Jacqueline Frost. So I gave this 3. It's my least liked of the 3. We are back in Maine in, I think it's a town called Mistletoe or something. Yeah, Mistletoe. And we are back with Holly White. Her parents own the tree farm in Mistletoe, Maine, which is this little town. And every year they run the reindeer games. And to be honest, that's my favourite bit of the book. I love the games. I love the different activities they do. This has got, if you are just looking for a gentle in the background book to have on that you're not too bothered about, that you don't feel like you really need to, not listen, that's the wrong word. But it doesn't take, like, it's soothing and all that kind of thing, even though it's got murder in it. This is for you. It's going to give you festive vibes. It might give you ideas of things to do at Christmas. But we are back with Holly White, and she has a B&B business in this book. And she's opened up, and it's going to be Christmas themed all year round. Yes, please. I would stay there. And there is a particular guest who is a critic who books in, Cleo, I think her name is. And lo and behold, dun, 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 she gets murdered. This all happens right at the beginning. So, you know, no spoilers. And unfortunately, someone in Holly's close circle gets accused of the murder. So obviously, Holly has to go and try and solve it. Now, I'm going to be perfectly clear here. I don't think it was that difficult to solve the murder. I'm not going to say why, because then if you do read this book, you're going to be looking out for that. But I think it was quite easy to solve who or whom committed the murder. Not necessarily why, although I suppose I should have got that too. But again, it was just on in the background, and my brain fog has been an issue this month. I love the fact that these are set in a holiday town. These books only come out at Christmas. She brings a new one out. I think there's 6 of them. So they're always Christmas themed. The murder is always committed with a piece of Christmas ephemera. So in this one, it is a nutcracker. And so I just find that fun. And yeah, we go from there. Holly obviously makes silly mistakes, gets herself far too involved, and puts herself in danger throughout the book. I don't mind that. But my problem, I'm going to be honest with you guys, I'm going to be continuing these just because I like the Christmas vibes. But Holly is one of my least liked characters. And I find this, I've said this before, in too many cozy mysteries, we have main female characters who feel like they are cookie cutter beige, walk straight out the 1950s. They are, oh, aren't I perpy, and I'm all like, oh, I'm this, that and the other, and jolly good, and everyone loves me, and I'm just trying to help everyone, and oh, isn't my hair perfect, and I can do this, that and the other, and oh, I'm a little bit ditzy, and everyone's like, oh, you're so amazing. Like in this book, they keep saying, well, you've solved 2 murders the previous 2 years. I'm going to let you in on a little secret with these books. She does not solve the murders. What happens is she annoys the murderer so much that she often, in the last few chapters, finds herself in peril and face to face. And even then she's like, but what are you doing? Why are you? I thought it was this person. And then the murderer kind of explains everything to her. And then she goes, oh my gosh, now it all makes sense. Yeah, because the murderer has just basically told you, Holly. So she does this all through the book. I think it's meant to keep us guessing, because she'll meet someone and go, well, they could have done this, and they said this, and what if it means this, and what if it means that? But she basically doesn't solve the murderer. So why everyone in this town's going, oh, well, Holly, you're a threat because you've solved 2 murderers and everyone thinks you're amazing and you can solve mysteries so well. And I'm just like, no, you couldn't. Like, Miss Marple would be looking at her with scorn from the other side of the room. She just blunders into dangerous situations and blunders into clues. And then she does things that, okay, these aren't meant to be realistic. So I'm going to not rant too much, but she does things that in the real world, if she did, would seriously make an issue with a case moving forward. Like, these people would get off because she interferes with evidence and stuff. Anyway, I know they're not meant to be realistic. They're meant to be cozy mysteries. I think she just annoys me so much that even though she does things that other people do in other cozy mysteries, I think I dislike her so much. My problem is I like nearly half of the other characters, including the character that was accused in this book. But, you know, it's a fun, easy read. So I'm not going to knock it too much, but yeah, it just, everything goes right for Holly, even though she then gets in trouble all the time because she's always doing the wrong thing. So final book of the year, sort of, was another Agatha Christie, because I started with an Agatha Christie the month and I ended. So it's another Poirot. I can't even remember what number we're on for Poirot now. It might even be book 14 or 15. I don't know. So this is Murder in Mesopotamia, and I gave this a 4. Now this is interesting because Hastings isn't in this one, and we begin with we begin with Miss Leatheran, who is a nurse, and she basically narrates this book. Now that is the only thing I did not like about it, because I listened to a lot of this on audio. And it is narrated by a woman, and that's not a problem. But it is for me when I prefer listening to I forgot his name, Fraser, the guy who plays Hastings in the Poirot series with David Suchet. I prefer that. So her Poirot was not the best. I didn't like her voicing Poirot. Anyway, we are with Miss Leatheran. She's a nurse. She is finishing one case and she meets someone who says, I have someone who's in need of your assistance. And she meets, oh my gosh, what is his name? Why is my brain fog so bad? She goes to this dig in Mesopotamia. Is it Dr. Raleigh? No. Do you know what? Hold on. No, I can't remember. Sorry. She gets hired by this archaeologist for who's doing a dig in Mesopotamia. And she is hired to look after his wife, who seems to be suffering with nerves. Don't we just love that term? But she seems to be suffering with nerves. But he also says that his wife seems scared, but he doesn't know what. So she goes there and she meets this group of characters. And the guy who recommended her to the archaeologist, he had said to her, oh, I visited the group and they all just seemed too polite. There was something unsettling. And she feels the same thing. When she gets there, everyone's being very, very super polite, but there's something just in the atmosphere. Now, when she first goes there, she does not like Mesopotamia. She doesn't like the dust. She doesn't like anything like that. But she really likes the lady she's been asked to look after. And this lady, although she does seem nervous, actually doesn't seem too bad. So we have this nurse's point of view. And then the lady who's there, who she's been asked to look after, is seeing things, hearing things, is scared of someone. And we get the story of why that is as we move through, because she confides in the nurse. And then a murder happens. And basically the nurse is a bit shocked by this. And it just so happens, obviously, that Poirot is in the area visiting someone trying to solve another crime, and he solved that, and someone who's at this dig site phones Poirot up and says, we've had this happen, can you come and help us? And the nurse really doesn't like Poirot at first. She's like, who is this funny little short egg-shaped foreigner, as she always calls him? He's always referred to like that in the books. It's almost like tongue-in-cheek, because normally it's these English people who are like, what's this foreigner doing coming in trying to tell us blah blah blah, and then the next thing you know, he solves everything, and they end up looking silly. So she's a bit wary of Poirot, but Poirot immediately takes her on. Has his, he does this in all his books. He always has someone he works with. And when Hastings isn't there particularly. And so he takes her on, and she often says, this is like a doctor-nurse relationship that they have. It reminds her of when she worked in hospitals. And so they start to unravel the mystery, the murder, and who the murderer is and what is going on. And yeah, and there does a nice little wrap up of the end of all the different characters who are at the dig site. I gave this 4. I really like it. It has that archaeological kind of feel to it. If you don't know anything about Agatha Christie, her second husband, Max, was an archaeologist, and she met him at a dig. She travelled all over by herself after the divorce of her first husband, and she went to all these kind of sites. So she really knows what she's talking about when she's talking about archaeological digs and what they did and how it was kind of approached and the kind of people who were there. And I just really like it. In the dead of winter, when I'm having to wear really warm things, this gave me summer vibes. You know, everyone's too hot. They're sweating. There's heat waves. They're trying to drink cooling drinks. I'm like, yes, please. 4 stars. Really, really enjoyed this one. Now, these next 2 are, I'm not going to have them as reading books necessarily, but I read them. I got these for Christmas Day, and I read them Christmas Day. I literally opened them and read them. And I only saw these, I think it was November time, maybe October, I don't know. But it was late 2025, and I remember pointing them out to my kids and going, oh my gosh, look. So these are the Mr. Men. Now, I used to love the Little Miss and Mr. Men books when I was younger, and I read them to my kids. They originally by Roger Hargreaves, but Mr. People have come together and done Agatha Christie's. It's just these 2 out. I hope they're going to bring out a few more, guys, because these were such a cozy read. So we've been talking about Poirot. These are written and illustrated by Adam Hargreaves, who is Roger Hargreaves' son. And look at the inside. Look at the 1920s look on this one. Oh my goodness, guys. And we literally have Poirot. This is our Poirot. Isn't he adorable? Oh my goodness. I hope they bring out merch, because I want a badge or something with a Mr. Man Poirot. And then we have the usual Mr. Man, like Mr. Messy and Miss Bossy, Mr. Rush. Like, it is Poirot, but in the Mr. Man world, or the Mr. Men are in his world. I don't know how to say it. And they've taken Death on the Nile. Obviously, these are great for kids, but they've called it Mischief on the Nile. There is no murders in these books. Basically, a necklace goes missing, which reminds me of a short story that Agatha Christie did, which was also about a pearl necklace going missing. Actually, I did a ABC JLC index card completely themed around that story. But anyway, yes, I am a big fan. I know I tell you guys I am. And in fact, any of you who've been here for any length of time will know I am, because a lot of my random makes are Agatha Christie themed. Anyway. A pearl necklace goes missing on the Nile, on the boat. And our little Mr. Man Poirot, look at his spats. Look at them. A little hat. Oh, my goodness me. Honestly, this brings me so much joy. I'm not going to show you anything else. It's the usual Mr. Man artwork. Look at the little pyramid in the background. And he does speak. Mon Dieu, exclaimed Mr. Poirot. It is a catastrophique. Anyway. I just love them. Love them, love them, love them. And yeah, he has to solve, where did the pearls go? Who took them? What happened? These are just so cozy. And then we have, oh my gosh, can we just take a moment? Just take a moment. Take that in. It is Miss Marple. And instead of, I think it's Murder at the Vicarage, which is one of the first Miss Marple books, Death at the Vicarage. We have Muddle at the Vicarage, again by Adam Hargreaves. Look at the Miss Marple ones. And what I love, I'm going to try and see if I can find, yep. Her chair in her living room is the same pattern. Come on, guys, look, it's Miss Marple. And in this one, I'm trying to find another Miss Marple. Look at her. Ooh. Just take a moment. Just take a moment, guys. She's also given me Sophia from Golden Girls vibes. I think it's the bag and the hair. Anyway, let's take a moment. Isn't it beautiful? Isn't it? Look at her little face. That's the face she'd be giving that lady from Mistletoe, Maine, Holly White. That's the face she'd be giving her. Anyway, at this one, we have an archaeologist again. and a crown that's been found in a local dig goes missing. Why is it missing? Where has it gone? Can Miss Marple solve the case? Yeah, of course she can. So that is all the books I read. I didn't give those a rating. They're kids' books. It is what it is. And yeah, now I want to get started on some gifts and things that I received and talk to you a little bit about my advent calendar. So the first thing I want to show you is my son brought me this. Let me zoom you out. So my youngest found this. We were actually in a charity shop probably a month or so ago, and I'd seen this there. It's a jigsaw. It's obviously secondhand. It's a bit battered and everything. It's 1,000 pieces. And I remember seeing it and going, oh, that's really good. And I love it. It's got the original covers and things. And actually, I should really talk about my reading wrap up. I'll show you this, then I'll talk about the reading wrap up of the year. No, actually, I'll do that in a minute. Yeah, so apparently they got me out of the charity shop because I like looking at books and things. Apparently they'd got me out. I hadn't even realised, and they were waiting for me to leave. And then they went to the lady at the till and went, can you put this aside under the till? We're going to come back and buy it, but the person we're buying it for right now is with us. And bless her, she did. And he went back and picked it up the next day when I wasn't there. I mean, honestly, how sweet is that? And you can see on here we've got the old covers. And what's funny is I've just read The ABC Murders and Death in Mesopotamia. Spoke about both in this vlog. It's got some of the famous ones: Lord Edward Dies, Murder of Roger Ackroyd, Death on the Nile. Then we've got Death in the Clouds, which I read earlier last month in November. I'm sure if I read these, I'd be able to tell what book they are. And I love it, like the shadow. They've got a gun, and then this shadow's got the knife. I can't wait. It says it's complete. That's what the person said. I hope it is. But even if it isn't, it's such a sweet gift that my son got me. Next, I want to talk about the advent calendar. I'm going to zoom you back down. Sorry about the shadows on the table, but there we go. Next, I want to talk about the advent calendar I got. So there is someone called Claire who has an Etsy shop that's called Book and a Cuppa. And I will leave a link to her down below. Now, she used to, a few years ago, have loads of stuff in her shop. And I remember a few years ago, I brought a Christmas stocking from her that had little bits and a book in it. And you could choose what book you wanted to go in it. But I haven't really brought much from her lately. She mainly has in her shop now stickers, book marks, and sometimes does a few vintage books or some hardback books. And sometimes she does bookmarks that match books. So, yeah, but this year, I don't know if she did it in 2024, but for 2025, she did a bookish themed advent calendar. And after the year I have had, first of all, I love advents. I love having an advent calendar. I'm a big child, and I don't see why we shouldn't get a present every single day. In fact, I just think that I would have less presents on Christmas Day and more, spend more on an advent calendar. I kind of love that. Anyway, I treated myself to her bookish advent calendar. Now, if you've been with me a while, you will know, because I've mentioned it a few times, but I have certain allergies, quite unusual allergies, and I also have dietary requirements. Now, she already had a bit for dietary requirements, but she knows my allergies, and I know in advent calendars you often get like coffees and teas, and you often get like bath products or candle kind of scent products, and I am very allergic to certain things. Obviously, she knows me because I've bought from her before, but not for a while, and she was so good. She got back to me straight away. She was more than willing to make sure that what my calendar had in it worked for me. She was really, really sweet. She had a problem with one of her suppliers. She had a problem with them for a piece of work that she'd commissioned, and she let everyone know, but she sent the advent calendars out so we would have it. I'll put a picture of the advent calendar. If you go to my Instagram or my Bookstagram, you will see it there. And then I'm going to show you a picture of everything that was in it. You can't see very well. I am going to do a post on both my Bookstagram and my Craftstagram for that too. But I wanted to share with you some of my favourite things. When I tell you the time and effort she has put into this calendar, It was beyond, guys. It was a 25-day calendar. She'd had a lot of things handmade for it. And the pieces that weren't handmade, she'd put together so well. So one of the things I want to show you is I got a cup in there. Now, I'm really fussy with cups. I like a lot of texture, but this is really round and sweet. And look, it says my weekend is fully booked, and there's some gilding on there. Now, I didn't just get the cup. I opened the box, saw the cup, thought, oh, that's cute. And inside she'd put 2 Nutcracker tea bags, or a Nutcracker tea bag, and I think it was some chocolates or a biscuit. It was something in there as well. You know, it wasn't just the cup you got on that day. So I really liked that. This is what I mean about care. One of the final days was this pack. It's a hot chocolate pack with all these stickers. And the thought and time that's gone in. All these were wrapped, guys. Everything was individually wrapped. Some things were wrapped in beautiful boxes. So in this, I got some gingerbread hot chocolate. Obviously vegan. I've got a gingerbread mug hugger, but I've never seen the mitten ones. I've only seen the gingerbread man ones. Sprinkles and a candy cane. Everything you could want for an amazing hot chocolate. Obviously, I haven't had mine yet. I've been saving it. There was so many sweeties, like little bag of sweeties. She found these vegan Christmas tree gummies that I've never seen, and they were absolutely delicious. They tasted of apple, and there was a chocolate gingerbread man, so there was that. There was this little ornament in it, guys. Look at it. I want to make something like this. It's a little bookish. The book's open. It's a little bookish ornament. Can't remember what day that was. There was a tiny little jigsaw. It's a little women's one, but it looks like a book. I've seen these in like Waterstones and that. That's cute. There was this. Now, I've had some of you ask me about, do I have a reading journal? And you guys want to do one, and would I be interested in making a reading journal? Now, I've never really had a reading journal. I tried it one year. But I think with me, I read so many books, and I tend to read, as soon as I finish one, I start another. Sometimes I just don't have time to do more than give a star rating. I am on Storygraph. So if you are on Storygraph, go and check me out. If you go to my book Instagram, which is Belle Book and a Cuppa, I really don't post often there, but I'm going to more this year, I promise you guys. I think I have a link to my Storygraph in that. And I don't do Goodreads. I'm not on there or anything else, but Storygraph I am on, and I will always update that and put my star rating, even if I don't write a review. But this pad was in my advent calendar. I love it. Book review, title, author, started, finished, star rating, and thoughts. That's quick and easy. That's something I can literally fill out and stick in a junk journal. And there is a lot of them. Now, this little design here that said all booked up, it's the same design almost as the cup, but she did a badge in this exact design. She did a magnet in this design. She did, I think it's something for a phone in this design. Like, she's carried this design through, so she's had that done. Also, I felt like it was very Agatha Christie themed, because the little card I got, is it in here? The little card I got at the, it wasn't even part of the advent. It was in the advent calendar when you opened it. Was this one. There's a little bit from her. So there's, I will link it down below, but there's that. And it says, Tea, Bless Ordinary Everyday Tea by Agatha Christie. So that was in there. And then there was also a Miss Marple sticker. I mean, amazing. And then a Poirot book. And I was like, this is just for me. But some of the other bits that I loved. There were so many bits, guys. But I want to show you a few that I loved. There was some bookmarks. So there was this, The Reader, which I think is quite cute. It's like in this off pinky kind of colour. That's quite cute. The Reader tarot card. I think she's designed it, or she's had it designed and made. And then, that was in there. And then there were 3 bookmarks. So there was the Christmas Book Club, again with these books. And that's the other side, gingerbread and candy canes. I mean, super cute. Then there is this one, again with that all booked up, and it says 2026. Love it. And it's actually got a calendar on the other side. And this has inspired one of my goals, which I'll tell you about in a minute. So plain book review, but on this side, it's classic books to read. And there was only 2 on here that I haven't read. So I will be reading them in the new year. But also in there, oh my goodness, I just love this. This is a watercolor, like it's a print, but it's a watercolor design of Narnia. How beautiful. And on the back it says greetings from Narnia, established. It's like 1850, 1950? 1950. And then her little sign. How beautiful. That's got to go up. So, I mean, when I tell you the time and effort, there was, sorry, I got a pair of socks as well in there. They were super cozy, a deep green with teddy bears all over. But she'd had a sticker made that actually said cozy reading socks. So you could cuddle up with your cozy reading socks, drinking your tea that she's gifted you in the bag from your cup, with your chocolate if you want the chocolate or the biscuit, or a hot chocolate depending what you want, and one of the books. I mean, she just thought of everything. And I got some bath products, which were great for me. And I've already used one of them almost all up. I loved them so much. There was lots of little smellies. There was a self-care kit that had the bath products, a tea. I think it had some chocolate in there and something else. I mean, it was in a little box. It was so cute. And then there were 3 books, one of which you've already seen, which was the Quick Reads Poirot. Then there was Murder Under the Mistletoe, which is a Reverend Richard Cole's. I haven't read any of his. I think I've got Murder Before Evensong on my Kindle, but I haven't read any yet. But super Christmassy. Look at that inside cover. Love it. So it's a little small book. Can't wait to read that. Then there was Murder at Holly House by Denzel Rayek. Now, this is the only book out of 4 books. This is the only one I've already got. I've got this in hardback. I dropped it. It got a bit wet. And I'm sort of halfway through it, but I didn't get to finish it. And I think I might just put it away again for next year. He brought out another one this year, which is, I think, the Christmas stocking murders or something. So that one. And then this one. Now, this was literally, I think, on day 24. 'Twas the Night Before Christmas. And I was thinking, I've never seen this cover before. Well, guys, the actual book looks like this. It's a load of Christmas stories. We've got all sorts of people in here. And yeah, it's just a load of little mini Christmas stories, Night Before Christmas. Obviously, I didn't get time to read it before Christmas, but next year I will. But she had this cover, this book sleeve designed. It literally says a cover design for the Bookish Advent Calendar, a book and a cuppa. How much thought and time, guys, has gone into that? To get 4 books, all right, I've got the Poirot ones as well, but not in that form. Like, that's in a different form, having the 4 of them together like that. But to get 4 books and only one of them really being an absolute perfect match for another book I have, I mean, that's brilliant. That Advent Calendar, after a very difficult year this year, that Advent Calendar was a joy to open every day. Claire is super, super sweet. And I really hope she's going to do one in 2026, because I've already messaged her. Because it was so thoughtful. There were badges in there. I'm trying to think of everything. There were stickers, there were badges, bookmarks, obviously. I've put a lot of it away now. There were so many beautiful things. You'll see a picture. I'm going to do a picture on Instagram, like I said, and you will also see more of, I might have turned the light on in a minute. You'll also see more of the things up close. Let's get on to reading statistics and 2026 plans, because this is quite a long video. So my reading statistics for 2025, I read 142 books. The majority of those were on physical copy, but I also read quite a lot on audio. Ebooks were the least amount that I read, but you'll know that if you've seen my wrap-ups. The first book of the year for me was The Mysterious Affair at Styles, a Poirot novel. And the final book of the year for me was, if we don't think about the Mr. Men books, but even then, was Murder in Mesopotamia. So I started the year of Agatha. I finished the year of Agatha, and there was lots of Agatha in between. I completed my read of The Discworld. I'm still super sad about it. I've missed that. The average rating for the year for me was 3.91. I would like to get that up next year. I only had 15 5-stars, which really is not a lot out of 142 books. I had a lot of 4 and 4.5 stars, but 5 stars didn't have a lot of. I read so many good books this year. I also finished my Mercy Thompson series, and I've started the Alpha and Omega one. I also completed the Cats, the number 2 Feline Detective Agency as well. I finished Pies Before Guys series, which is a favourite, and I really hope a third one comes out, and I don't think it is going to. There's so many books that I loved this year. If you go on to, I don't know if it shows on Storygraph, but they do reading wrap up. And what I love, let me try and get this up for you. So what I love on Storygraph is they actually show you all the books that you've read the covers of. And it just, do you know what? It brings me so much joy to see all the covers of my books that I've read. Some favourites, I had loads of favourites this year, if I'm honest, guys. But out of the 5 stars, some favourites were The Good Immigrant, Prophet's Song. I have not stopped thinking about that since March. Silence of the Girls, which was a reread, but I love it. I Who Have Never Known Men has stuck in my head. But there are so many other books, like the Morrigan one that I read. I'm just having a look. I love the Pies Before Guys anyway. What other one? I liked the, was it The Poisoner's Tale or something? So there were lots of other books. Oh, a big mention goes out to the Golden Girls mystery, Death by Cheesecake. And I just need to confirm, guys, there is a second one in the series. So if you guys pick that up, there is a second one, and it's all themed around Blanche is more of the main person in that. Yeah, there were loads that I really loved. I loved Songbird, which was a non-fiction. I liked Flying Plantain. There's so many, and I spoke about most of them in my reading wrap-up, so do go check those out. But 142 books, considering how poorly I have been and how poor some of my reading months have gone, I am super pleased with that. I think I might have read slightly more 2024, but I wasn't dealing with as many health issues. Oh, and I cannot not mention, obviously, the new Natalie Haynes, No Friend to This House. Some of these books will be linked down below. I'm not going to be able to remember every single one that I read. Okay, reading plans for next year. The first thing is I have created a bingo board from hell. I haven't created it. Win over at Literary Diversions, who is one of my favourite booktubers. They, for the last few years, have done a bingo board from hell, where it's all about chaos, and it's trying to get them to read certain books. You know, it's trying to get them to really focus on reading in certain areas. Love the theme. This wasn't even me who suggested it, but it's got ghosts, books and bats on here. It's very pastel. They always do different boards. So they do a board that is exactly like theirs that you can download, a board that is white so you can colour it in whatever colour you want, a board that is plain. And so I downloaded the coloured plain board. Now, a lot of these are actually inspired by Win. I think I only changed 2 of the prompts on here, but what I've done is I've adapted it. So I'm going to be working on this. I won't be telling you my reading wrap-ups, but I do intend to, fingers crossed, post on my bookish Instagram, which is Bell Book and a Cuppa, which is linked below. And each month I'm going to be saying how far I've got. So I want to read 10 non-fiction because I read less non-fiction. This year, I think I didn't even reach 10. I want to read 10 non-fiction in 2026. I want to read 40% of my 2026 purchases. I really tried to tackle this last year. I think Win's going for 60%. I was like, that's too much. I have reduced the amount of books I buy, but I was keeping all the ones I brought on my little trolley, so I knew what I'd brought, and I was trying to pick them up through the year, but I still ended up not reading a lot of the there's still a good amount I didn't read. So I want to read 40% of my 2026 purchases. I want to read 5 first book in series. That sounds a bit weird, but basically I have a lot of books on my TBR, my to be read pile in my bookshelf, and a lot of them are the start of series. So I think I've got like Six of Crows, there's just a whole load of series. So I've got the first, sometimes the second and the third book in the series, but I haven't even started it. So I want to read 5. I've already picked the 5 that I definitely want to tackle. Then there's a few more that I want to do. 10 TBR veterans. Now, this basically means, this is what Wynne says, any book that's been on your bookshelf for a year or 2 years. I have a lot of those, guys. So I've already picked as well at least 10 that I want to tackle. I used to get a book box, a subscription box for a while, the Locked Library, and I have a lot of beautiful, stunning, unique to the Locked Library books, and I've barely read any of them. I only had it for about a year, but I think I only read 3 of those. So they are mainly my TBR veterans that I'm going to be tackling because they're chunky, they're taking up a lot of space. A lot of them are YA or fantasy, so I just want to see what I like and what I don't like I'm getting rid of. Read 5 books immediately. So basically, if I buy a book this year, at least 5 of those I have to read straight away, because often we'll buy it, we get excited about it, and then I'll go, right, well, I've already got my TBR for the month, I've already made what I'm reading this month, I've worked out challenges, that'll go on my trolley, and then 3 months later I might get to it. So 5 read immediately. And I want to, it's like Wynne said, you want to kind of remind yourself of when you were a child and you'd go out, buy a book, get so excited and sit down and read it straight away. So I think Wynne's doing more than that, but I've put it to 5. Rereads. I want to do at least 10 rereads. Now, obviously, my Agatha Christie's are rereads. They're rereads, but they're not going to count. I want to find at least 10 books. I've actually already made a pile of 12 that I love, books that I have loved to read, and I want to reread them. And that means I get to share some of my favourite authors and some of my favourite books with you guys. And it means I've got the joy of rereading them. Now, I used to keep every book, basically, that I bought or owned or read, unless it was a live book. But I just can't do that. I have too many unread books. I don't even want to tell you the number. It is embarrassing, because I like to go into secondhand shops and then I'll see they're 50p and I'll see a load of books in there that I've heard about, I've heard other people review, I've wanted to read, I've waited for, and I'll walk out with 10. And last year I really stopped doing that. I was very, very strict with myself. And also I reduced the amount of pre-orders that I did, although if you do pre-order, it really does help authors. So there is that. So I really reduced that. So that's really good. But I have too many books. So there's 2 things on here that's going to tackle that. Well, 3 things really, because it's first book in series, TBR veterans that have been sitting there for too long, and we'll skip one of them. We'll go to this one, 10 read or unhaul. This is a big thing in the book community if you don't know. Basically, I'm going to pick certain books that I have had on my bookcase for far too long, or I've picked up secondhand because I've randomly heard someone say, oh, they really liked it and I thought it sounded interesting. But if they sit on your bookshelf too long, you get bored of them. So I'm going to pick 10 books at least this year that fit into that category. They might even be TBR veterans that fit into that category, and I'm going to put them on a to be read pile. I'm either going to try a first chapter and decide whether it's for me or not, or if I do not read it and I haven't read it for a month or 2, it's going. There's no point having a book that I think I want to read, but every time I go to pick it up think, oh, that's not for me. So these will be tackling my far too many books in my bookshelf. 10 Kindle books. My Kindle is where books go to just lie in the dust. Because I always see Kindle books reduced and I think, oh my gosh, I really wanted to read that one. Now it's reduced. Now I'm going to buy it. And I also have a crossover of a lot of books on my bookshelves that I also have on Kindle. And that's just not okay. I have probably more Kindle books than I do books on my bookshelves, and that is saying something, guys. So I need to tackle that. I do read ebooks, tend to do it at night, but I prefer physical books or audio, and I'm really going to tackle the ebooks. If I can match them up so that they're a TBR veteran or a first book in the series as well, that's actually on my bookshelf as well as on my Kindle, more power to me, because that means I tackle the Kindle and 2 other prompts. You know, we like that. We like being able to tick more off. And the final one is read 5 classics. I used to read classics all the time, and I am talking about 17th century, 18th century, well, 1700s, 1800s, early 1900s. You'll all know Frankenstein's one of my favourites. And this might also be a little sneaky peek at something that's coming up much later in the year. That's craft related. But hopefully, fingers crossed. But I want to go back and read more classics. That could fit into my rereads because I have a huge collection of 19th century classics that I have read all of them before. So it could be a reread or it could be a new classic to me. So that is Literary Diversions. Like I said, you can make your own bingo board. You can copy their bingo board. You could copy my bingo board. I haven't got it anywhere, but you might want to just make your own. It's a great way to gamify your reading and make things a little bit more interesting because I am very goal operated. Yes, that too. I'm very goal orientated. So I like to have reading challenges. So there is that. And then the 2 things that I've been doing, well, one of them only started last year, but the other one's been going for a few years and I've been taking part in, is the Buzzwords Challenge. These are created by Kayla over at Books and Lala, another favourite booktuber. And for many years, she's been doing the Buzzword Reading Challenge, which is basically each month she gives you a word or a prompt and you fulfill that with a book. And then last year, she combined that with the Buzzword Cover Challenge, which again is a prompt or a word on a cover. And I love doing these challenges. I often just tick them off through the year, but this year I'm going to try and do it monthly. So sometimes I might do a prompt that's a December prompt in May. Doesn't matter because it's ticked off and it really doesn't matter. Whatever you want to do. And I know both of these challenges are up on Storygraph. So if you are on Storygraph and you do want to take part in this challenge, you can actually get them on there too. Or go to Kayla's website, YouTube channel. So it's things like in January, the prompt is before and after. That's the word. So somewhere in the title has to be the word before or after. And the cover challenge is body part, internal. I already have a book for that. You can see I've started writing in different books. I'm trying to link these ones with my TBR veterans from the book box, subscription box. So I've been trying to do that. You can see these aren't as completed. But there are those. Sometimes I do mini challenges. I always do the Irish Readathon, which is in March. I've been doing that for 3-4 years now. So hopefully if that's going to be on this year, you'll know because I'll talk about it in March anyway. It's what I read Prophet Song for and the Morrigan for last year. So I always take part in that. And I know another booktuber that I really like is doing a spring and an autumn readathon. So I'm hoping to take part in that. Just have to see because she's got some things going on. So she's hopeful for those, but we don't know. But I'm definitely doing the bingo board. I want to tackle my bookshelves. I want to reduce it. I want to end up with, yes, lots of books that I want to read, but also books on my shelf that I want to reread, that I really love, that I look at and go, oh, I wish I could just sit down with you and read you for the first time again. And I love doing the buzzword one because it's fun. And I'll be continuing my reread of Poirot, the series. So I'm going to be continuing that. I know one of you is also doing that. You're a book or two behind me. So you were inspired to do that. So I'm going to be doing that. And the other thing I'm going to be doing, guys, is I have my collection of Mina Lima books. Now, you would have probably seen, if you watched my Frankenstein book video, that I bought I brought a Frankenstein one, but I was talking about it in that. These are beautiful books by Mina Lima. They are, they have the most beautiful, like, interactive. There's usually 6. I'm not going to show you them all because, you know, but I have these. Now, some of these will work for classics as well because I have The Secret Garden, I have Jungle Book, I have things like Snow White, I have Beauty and the Beast and things. Now, I've only read 2 of these before. I have the complete collection so far. I'm sure they'll bring one out this year too, 2026. I've only read 2 of them. I think I've read Beauty and the Beast and The Little Mermaid before. But I want to read one of these every month because they're sitting on my bookshelf. I have about, I think there's 10 of them. I don't know. And they're fun, they're interactive, they're beautiful. The art style in here is just usually wonderful as well. It's just beautiful. And I need to read them, guys. I can't just have pretty books. They need to have been read. So that's my challenge. Continue with Agatha Poirot novels. Read these. Do the readathon by Win at Literary Diversions. Make sure I'm fulfilling the prompts for the buzzword book cover. It sounds like a lot, but it's not. And one of you guys reminded me of the 52 challenge, book challenge, the 52 book club challenge. I was going to do that because I remember seeing it a few years ago and wanting to do it, and then I didn't. But with all the challenges I'm doing this year and really wanting to tackle, I want to tackle what I've got. I'm obviously going to buy books, guys. I love books. But I really want to tackle, I want to read more from my shelves, or what I did this year, which I'm going to continue doing next year, is if there's a book I'm excited about, but it's not an auto by author, I am going to borrow it from the library first, which is what I did last year. And then if I like it, then I'm going to buy it. That's what I did with the Christmas Cracker Killer. I listened to the audiobook from my library. Then I bought the book because I liked it. And that actually saved me quite a bit of money and bookshelf space this year. Actually, I'm going to be continuing that, and I really want to try and balance my books this year, i.e. when I read in a month, I want to balance what's coming in. I want to have less books coming in monthly, which I'm going to be tracking. I've been doing that for a couple of years, and more books being read or going out. At the end of every month anyway, I usually do a declutter, which if there's a book I haven't enjoyed, that book goes. But I really want to try and be reading and getting rid of more books than I have coming in. Again, just financially and for space, guys. I have limited space. So that's it. I think that's everything. That's the six books I shared with you for December. This is such a long video. My 2 little books. Oh my gosh, these give me so much joy. The Advent calendar, the Christmas gift of the jigsaw, and my reading wrap up for 2025 and my reading plans for 2026. Oh, I am tired. I'm going to have a cup of tea in my new bookish cup. Yeah, I want to know. I know lots of you have been inspired to pick up books. I would love to know what your favourite book of the year last year was. If you've read one, leave that down below. I also would love to know if you have been inspired by any of these challenges, or if you've got a challenge. Like I said, I know one of you is going to do the 52 book club challenge. So let me know that down below as well. And yes, I'm going to be doing these reading wrap-ups. Again, they're my least watched videos, but I enjoy doing them so much, and I enjoy sharing this part of my life with you guys. And I know there's a really small group of people who really love these videos, so that brings me joy too. So yes, if you want to kind of follow along with anything, I will let you know. It's a sneaky peek, but I am rereading The Thursday Murder Club by Richard Osman. I brought the latest book in it at Christmas time, or just before Christmas time, and I was going to pick it up, and I thought, no, we're going to do a reread first. So if any of you have not read Thursday Murder Club, or if any of you have read it but want to reread it, just a little sneaky thing, I'm reading it in January, guys. So maybe you guys want to read it too, and then we can discuss it in the comments when I do my reading wrap up for January. Yeah, I'm super excited. I really want to get to the new one, but I just want to reread them first. I love those books, and I think it'll be nice to read them so close together, one after the other. So yes, I'll be doing that as well. But until next time, guys, thank you so much for, sticking with me through all this. If you got to the end, leave me a little crown for Miss Marple and the muddle at the vicarage. And yes, thank you so much for really those of you who've watched these videos, liked them and commented. Thank you so much for doing that in 2025. It was a big risk for me to take, and you guys have just made it worth it. So thank you so much. Yeah, check out as many links as I can put down below. I don't know, there won't be all the books I've mentioned. They'll be on other reading videos if you want to go back and read those. But happy New Year's, guys. And I'll be back again soon with another video, but I hope 2026 brings you all lots and lots of great stories and bookish fun. Bye for now.